Elegant, attractive, durable. Bath and shower enclosures from Basco accent the owner's style with a design that offers years of carefree use. Spread a drop cloth and unpack the 135/735 bath enclosure carefully. Identify all parts using the instruction sheets as a reference. Before discarding the carton, check to see that no small hardware parts have fallen to the bottom of the box. Handle the glass panels carefully and protect the edges. Remove the warranty sticker and save for registration. To install your Basco bath enclosure, you will need a tape measure, level, number 2 Phillips screwdriver, 3/16 wrench, drill, 1/8 inch and 3/16 drill bits, hacksaw, pencil, and caulking. Optional tools include a miter box for cutting parts to length, files, center punch, and masking tape. Measure the opening at the bottom of the shower stall and cut the curb with weep slots to fit the full width of the opening. If required, use a file to round the lower corners of the curb to fit the shower sill properly. Drill the interior face of the curb on both ends. Position the curb in the middle of the sill with weep slots to the interior and mark its position with a pencil line along the interior and exterior base. Place the 2 wall jambs into the ends of the curb. Masking tape may be used to hold the curb in place during this operation. Plumb the jambs and mark the hole locations on the wall. Remove all parts and drill the walls for mounting hardware. For tile or marble walls, drill 6 holes and insert the plastic wall anchors. A center punch helps locate the holes accurately. Attachments to fiberglass or acrylic units can be made in 2 ways. If reinforcement is built into the wall of the unit, drill 3 holes to install mounting screws directly into the reinforcement. If walls are not reinforced, drill holes and install plastic wall anchors or toggle bolts. Wipe the shower walls and sill, curb, and wall jambs with a clean, dry cloth to remove any dust or debris. Apply a bead of caulk along the inside of both the pencil lines. Carefully replace the curb in the exact position marked. Caulk the inside of the curb where it meets the wall. Replace both wall jambs and attach to the walls with 6 truss head screws. Place the setting blocks in the curb as shown to support the fixed glass panel. The setting blocks should be positioned approximately 3 inches from each corner of the glass panel. Remove any protective strips from the glass panel and set it into place. It should rest on the setting blocks and be engaged approximately 1/2 inch into the wall jamb. Strips of masking tape will aid alignment. Press the 180-degree post into the curb and position it to overlap the glass panel by 1/2 inch. Use masking tape to hold the post in position temporarily. To facilitate out-of-plumb walls, the 1/2 inch glass bite may be varied from 1/4 to 3/4 inch. If the quick install option is ordered, the setting blocks are not needed. Measure the wall-to-wall opening at the top of the wall jambs and cut the header 1/16 short of this dimension. Check the header for fit. Press the header over the wall jambs and the 180-degree post. Plumb the post, moving it laterally as required to maintain proper coverage on the fixed glass panel. The minimum horizontal dimension for the door opening is the door panel width plus 1/2 inch, and the maximum is the door panel width plus 1 3/4 inch. Using the holes in the end of the header and curb as a guide, drill 4 holes into the wall jambs. Drill 2 holes through the header and curb into the 180-degree post as shown. Then enlarge the 2 outer holes with a drill for clearance on the truss head screws. Secure the header and curb to the wall jambs and 180-degree post with 6 truss head screws. Press the pivot jamb and strike jamb over the wall jamb and 180-degree post. Note that the magnetic strip on the strike jamb must face the exterior, and the clear vinyl jamb seal on the pivot jamb must face inward. Snap the fillers into the curb and header between the door jambs with the raised lip to the exterior and the pivot holes toward the pivot jamb. Center the curb filler in the curb between the pivot and strike jamb, using masking tape to hold in position. The snap-in filler should be exactly 3/8 inch longer than the door panel width. Pull the bottom of the pivot jamb tight to the curb filler and plumb the jamb. Drill 2 holes through the pivot jamb and into the wall jamb 3/8 inch to 3/4 inch from the wall and approximately 1 inch vertically from the ends of the jamb. Drill a 3rd hole centered between the first 2 and enlarge the outer holes with a drill for clearance on the truss head screws. Attach the pivot jamb permanently with 3 truss head screws. Slide the header filler tight against the pivot jamb. Push the strike jamb tight against the fillers at the top and bottom. With the pivot jamb plumb and both fillers tight between the 2 door jambs, the strike jamb also will be plumb and parallel to the pivot jamb. Attach the strike jamb to the 180-degree post in the same manner as the pivot jamb. Strip 2 clear vinyl jamb seals into the door panel splash guard and the pivot jamb and trim flush at both ends. Both vinyls should be turned to trap water from the shower head. Secure the vinyls with a small quantity of glue or caulk at each end or by carefully crimping the vinyl pocket. Insert the 2 square head set screws into the threaded holes in the pivot blocks in the top and bottom rails of the glazed door panel. Position the pivot pins 1 1/2 inch from the pivot side of the door, the side opposite the magnetic strip. Tighten the set screws just enough to prevent the pivot blocks from moving, finger tight plus a 1/4 turn. A wrench will fit the set screw heads. Press the white nylon spacer over the bottom pivot pin on the door panel. Insert the 2 nylon pivot bushings into the pivot holes in the head and curb fillers. Lift the door panel and insert the top pivot pin into the pivot bushing in the header filler. Hold the door vertical and insert the bottom pivot pin into the pivot bushing in the curb filler. It may be necessary to remove the header retaining the screws and raise the header slightly to install the door. When the door has been set into place, snap the security washer over the top pivot pin to hold the upper pivot bushing in place and prevent accidental dislodging of the door. Now, clean the bottom door rail and the drip rail thoroughly with rubbing alcohol to ensure proper adhesion. Insert the tapered drip vinyl into the drip rail. Trim the vinyl so it's flush with the pivot end and notch 1/4 inch longer than the drip rail. Unroll the double stick tape and carefully apply it to the back of the drip rail. Then raise the strike side until the bottom edge of the drip panel is parallel to the curb. Mark the location of each end of the drip rail. The drip plug is supplied with the left and right hand plug together. Break the right and left drip plug apart and insert the appropriate plug into the high side of the drip rail. Discard the unused drip plug. Peel off the tape backing and carefully press the drip rail to the door in the marked position. Attach the interior door handle and the exterior door handle to the door panel with 2 round head screws. Close the door and check the clearance with the strike jamb. If necessary, loosen the set screws on the top and bottom slide bars and adjust the door panel to align the strike magnets. When the door panel is properly aligned, tighten the set screws securely. Inspect the pieces of black glazing vinyl and note the two different profiles. The smaller shape is installed vertically and the larger shape is installed horizontally. To speed installation, use glass cleaner for lubrication and a small block of wood to press the vinyl into place. Cut 4 pieces of the smaller vinyl 1 inch longer than the vertical opening and trim the ends on a 45-degree angle. Using the masking tape guides, center the first glass panel in the frame. Cut 4 short pieces of the small vinyl and press into the jamb and post on each side to hold the glass temporarily. Take one of the long pieces of vinyl and starting on the outside exterior jamb, press each end into the frame and work toward the middle. Be careful not to stretch the vinyl. Install the other 3 pieces in a similar fashion. Next, cut 4 pieces of the larger vinyl a ½ inch longer than the horizontal opening and trim the ends on a 45-degree angle. Install the top exterior vinyl starting at both ends and working toward the middle. Install the top interior vinyl and the 2 bottom vinyls in the same way. Carefully caulk the interior jamb-to-wall and curb-to-base joints. For appearance, you may wish to caulk the exterior joints as well. Finally, peel off the backing on the Basco decal and apply to the inside surface of the header. Elegant, attractive, durable. Bath and shower enclosures from Basco. If your shower enclosure has a buttress, use the following instructions for installation. Shower units with a buttress or seat come with the curb pre-assembled. Begin by placing the curb on your center line, and then use a level to make sure it's plumb. Use a pencil to mark the placement to ensure the curb stays put on the center line. Also, mark the location in the vertical section of the curb for the drilled hole. Now, you need to drill and install the jambs, as was previously demonstrated. You also will have to drill a hole for the vertical curb and attach it with a truss head screw. Next, silicone the corner joint with a heavy bead of silicone. Insert the setting blocks and install the panel in the same manner that was previously shown. Glaze the panel as you did earlier and cut a V-shaped notch on the inside of the vinyl to allow the glazing to wrap around the 90-degree corner. Elegant, attractive, durable. Bath and shower enclosures from Basco.